Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of From the Mount, a podcast from the campus of Mount Perrin Christian School. I'm your host, Steve Kyle. With me, as usual, Viola Lucier. Welcome, Viola.
Hello, everyone.
Glad to have you back in here for another alumni edition of our podcast. We've already had a few of these already, and we'll continue to do so. We have amazing alumni. We could probably do one of these a week for a long time. And this one's been a long time coming. We've scheduled and rescheduled this, Jared, I don't know how many times. So I'm finally glad when I sent that text last night, I was like, come on, Lord, we can make this work. Yep. But we have in the studio with us for this alumni edition, Mr. Jared Knox. Jared, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for finally being able to come in. Seriously, no lie. We've gone back and forth with, sorry, I can't, next, gone out of, can't do this. I'm like, hey, I got to redo this. And we went back and forth till finally he was like, cool, man, let's do this. So it's been a long time coming. Glad to have you here, Jared. And obviously I've gotten to know you some outside of the podcast studio. Really kind of fascinated by your story, to be honest with you, because it's a really cool one. But most importantly, and I have to say, blown away when you hear what he does now, and I've seen his work. It is a gift, no doubt, from God, because this isn't something you can learn or be taught, really. No. You can basically, but you can't at the level that you do it. It's been remarkable. So we're going to get there. But let's first, Jared, I want everybody to know who Jared Knox is. So real quick, you're obviously an alum. You can give us a little bit about, how long you were here, what year you graduated, and a little bit about your Mount Perrin experience here.
Yeah. So I'm a Marietta native, went to Mount Perrin from kindergarten all the way through senior year of high school. So absolute lifer. Went to Auburn shortly after that. But when I was in high school, really focused on school, enjoyed my time here. I was big in athletics, played football, tennis, played basketball growing up, and quit in high school. But my family, both sides are from Marietta, so Marietta's in my blood through and through. Loved this
You
place.
graduated what year?
2017.
Graduated 2017. Yep. You've also had, you're not the only Knox to have gone to my first one on the podcast. Hopefully we'll get the others if they happen to be listening.
Yep.
We'll
they're important too.
Yeah, yes. They are. They're But two siblings, obviously, also that graduated from Mount Perrin.
So older brother, John Allen, he graduated 1 year before I did. So 2016. Also loved football. He was a star player. Merritt graduated,
2020.
Was it 2020?
She graduated the same year that my daughter. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't 2020. It was 2022.
Yeah.
2022.
5 years, yeah. That sounds about right.
That was the year I think my second daughter graduated, 2 years behind her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've been plugged into Mount Perrin hardcore forever.
Yes.
And my parents were too. My dad helped out with Eagle Backers.
Yeah.
My mom.
She taught here.
Yeah, she did.
She did. Espanol.
Yeah, Espanol, that's right.
She did, and she played, and they have invested quite a bit. Both financially and just in their lives in being a part of Mount Perrin. And I've gotten the privilege to know your parents some. You've got amazing parents. Yeah. Think the world of both of them. They've done a lot of great for this community. I mean, they believe in what we do here. You three are a big, significant, obvious result of that commitment to this. Because again, getting to know you all, you're not perfect kids, but man, you've got they're three amazing kids. So
very much so.
We're glad to have you. So part of your Mount Perrin experience, I want you to talk about this because you talk about sports, you talk about kind of give me what things that you did growing up, and then as you moved into high school, where you found your passion, things you were involved in across the board.
Yeah, so I had a really good friend group all the way growing up, like kindergarten through senior year of high school, that was all rooted here. And, naturally we cared about sports. Like that was the thing that we did. That's all I told myself that I should care about. But I had this little side hobby, side passion through art, like painting, drawing forever. Like
that's what I say. How did that start? When you say forever, like as long as you can remember growing up.
Yes. Like as long as I can remember being able to draw, I loved it. And it was second grade. I can't remember our teacher's name, but I wish I could. I could later. But she pulled my parents aside and said, "Hey, Jared's actually really good." I did a nativity scene painting in class, and they were like, "Wow, this is actually something that Jared should probably invest in." So shortly after that, I started taking extracurricular classes outside of Mount Perrin, and just focused on it. And then,
so your parents also saw, hey, he's got this desire, and we want to help him foster this passion as well.
Yeah, I mean, most of my time outside of school and football or whatever was spent either outside running around or just sketching in my sketchbook. Literally anything that I was staring at, like the back of a car seat or a lamp or whatever. I just love to do it.
Wow.
So it's always been a part of my story. But, you know, moving through high school, nobody's really passionate about art in my friend group at all. And I was so confused by it too. I don't think I realized that I was, but I was like, this is just a fun thing for me to kind of mess around with on the side. And that was it. So, you know, I kind of took that mentality into college too. You know, you think about art as a career, it's not really a good one, everyone says.
Yeah,
you know,
and nobody's really, almost rightly so, encouraging you, hey, go major in art because you can be really successful and maintain a great career and support a family of multiple children being an artist.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not in any way saying, because it is and we'll talk more about that, that it is. But it isn't, I mean, it's not that we hear or anywhere people discourage that.
No.
But it isn't a place that you go normally, right, Violet, to make a huge living.
And in fact, I have heard parents say, okay, you can do that on the side, but you're going to get a job as like a CPA. And I'm like, how does that with the flute? And then you're going to, what?
Yeah. And in no way was anybody discouraging me from pursuing that as a career.
Yeah.
But I'm typically like timid when it comes to making crazy big decisions.
Yeah.
And so I was never thinking like, man, let me just go be an artist and live off of what I paint. Like that was just not wise to me. So I was like, that's not what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of brag on you a little bit, I do remember you were always 6 foot whatever when I knew you in high school, and just a presence, but you're a quieter presence. And so you're not somebody who's loud and crazy running down the hallways. But you, unbeknownst to you, were accidentally, I think, put in like spotlight leadership roles.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, Jared, let's ask Jared. And you did a beautiful job with it. But like we were talking about a little bit before we started recording, I remember we were trying to put you in little boxes of like, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's going to be an engineer. He's going to be an architect. Or like, oh, no. He's an amazing athlete. Should we look at him going to play somewhere, you know? So it's like we were trying to just say like, oh, these are the things that you should do. And so then we start to really see what you can do. Art is very much like singing. Like, I think I sound like Mariah Carey, but, you know, so there are people who are like, I'm an amazing artist. And you're like, no, it's just spray paint, you know, but that's not what you do. Yeah. So, I mean, not to make you feel awkward, but you did a great job. There were, I think, people quietly like, oh, this is just who Jared is. And you showed everybody. Yeah.
And a huge part of my testimony is kind of how I, in high school, took on the things that people said about me in the best ways. Like, people were telling me, hey, Jared is a great, you know, athletic young guy. He loves the Lord clearly because he's not out here doing drugs. He's not drinking alcohol with his buddies. He's doing all the right things, making good grades. So let's put him on a pedestal and say like, this is what the goal is. And that's an okay thing. That should happen. But where I went wrong is that I really started to love all of that. I kind of fed myself and my pride on those things that people were saying about me. So what happens when you leave high school and your whole identity is based around your reputation? Well, you don't have a clue who you are anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, 2 years of college I spent trying to figure out who I was. You know, I had this reputation of really knowing the Lord, and I had to get back to the basics of, hold on, like, why did God create me? You know, why am I here on this earth? What am I supposed to do? And what does it look like for me to walk with the Lord actually? instead of just having the stamp of approval of I am walking with the Lord, even though deep down I had a lot of sins. I had a lot of things going on personally that I wasn't addressing because I thought I just had the check mark of being the good Christian guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So then keep the journey going. You're in high school. You're getting ready to graduate. You're doing art on the side. Were you doing art here as well? Also, like in classes, doing art. Yeah.
I mean, two people that really encouraged me and focusing on art was Jill Hooley and Joe McSpadden. They were incredible.
And I know I've had the privilege of being here with Jill for a couple years.
So
Amazing.
encouraging.
Oh yeah, great artist, great woman.
Both of them pushed me out of my comfort zones and kept me super humble in that area where I thought I was like the best. They kept me, they kept it real with me. But yeah, so I graduate high school, art very much just this side hobby. I mean, I had made a little bit of money painting people's like dogs or different commissions, drawing pictures of faces and things like that. But that was the whole extent of it. And so, my older brother's at Auburn, both my parents went to Auburn. I loved Auburn football. I was like, okay, I can go be an engineer there. I'll probably work for my dad he's the 4th generation owner of an HVAC and sheet metal fabrication company. So I'm like, this is perfect. I'm going to go there. Everything's working out great. But yeah, art very much kind of in my back pocket. My thing.
Yeah. Go to Auburn, major in engineering. And kind of in your head, are you thinking, I'm going the engineering route? At what point though? Because, however you want to, spoiler alert, you're not working as an engineer for your dad.
Right.
Yeah.
So where was this change? Where did you were like, all right, this isn't what I want to do at least right now. What was that moment, that time that?
Yeah. So like I said, I kind of had this identity crisis. And so junior year of college, I still have this reputation of being a good guy because I'm not doing all the things that everybody else is doing. So the church that I went to, Auburn Community Church, one of their college leaders asked me to lead a small group. And at that moment, I was kind of the loneliest I'd ever been. I was giving into sins that I knew I shouldn't have been giving into. And in that moment, I was like, hold on. If I'm about to be called out into leadership and shepherding other people's faith, I better figure my faith out. Like, I better figure out what Jesus wants me to do and what it's like to actually walk with him. So it's funny because it wasn't like I decided to follow Jesus at one point. Jesus was like, no, you're going to follow me and you're going to lead other people. And that was the Kickstarter that I needed so badly. So fall semester of my junior year, I began to kind of redefine what it's like to be a follower of Jesus. And I always say I went from being very numb and passive to becoming very passionate and filled with love for other people. That was the biggest change that I saw as the Lord began to actually lead me in that season. So begin to lead the small group, and that uncomfortability of actually letting God define what I was doing, it made me want to give everything to him. And so one of the first things to go was, hold on, like, why am I pursuing a career in engineering? Like, is this from the Lord or is this something that I decided was good and comfortable? And pretty quickly after that, it's not art yet, but I begin to have a broken heart for overseas missions as I'm learning about the gospel and what my role is and actually bringing the gospel to a broken world. I am hit with, oh my gosh, I've got to move overseas and share the gospel with a people group that's never heard it. And I'm still super passionate about that. But so junior year, I'm like, okay, how do I do that? How do I move somewhere and become a missionary?
Yeah. Hey, Mom, Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
What you do? I get a quick convo with you.
So I had that conversation with them. So COVID hits. I spend that whole season with my parents back home in Marietta, and we had 2 conversations where I'm like crying. I'm telling them, hey, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going somewhere, and I know it's not what we thought. And I remember having that conversation with my dad of, hey, I don't think I'm going to be a part of this family company. And he was so gracious and so supportive I mean, that still makes me emotional to think about how he handled that and how supportive my parents are. But, you know, I spend the next year praying through what kind of job I could have that would allow me to travel. And I'm still thinking in engineering. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can go, you know, 3D print homes somewhere. Like that was the thing. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Different ideas like that. Or maybe I just have a typical engineering job somewhere where the gospel is not known. So all the while, I'm still painting and having no clue what to do with that whole part of my life. And I did some shows at DK Gallery, one my freshman year, and then again my junior year of college. And, you know, had a ton of success. Like all these paintings that I brought ended up selling. I'm still thinking of it as a side hobby. So senior year, I actually get a text from Donna Kruger at DK Gallery, and she says, hey, if you want to do this as a career, we really think you could do it, and you could be one of our first artists and just display with us year round. And when I got that text, it was like a light bulb moment of like, oh my gosh, this thing that God has been preparing throughout my entire life, he has put right in front of me to be able to share the gospel and fulfill the Great Commission. And I was just so blind to it. But I also couldn't run from it at that moment because I got that text, you know, my heart just sank. I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, this has to be it.
Yeah. Wow. I just imagine that's, you know, that cool moment like that, because not everybody gets that. Number one, but number two, I think it comes because you kind of paint this picture of, I had to realize that it required full surrender. It had to, you didn't even know what you were full surrendering to or of. It was, all right, God, I just have to do this. And it was in that moment that, because I think texts and phone calls and emails are sent regularly that we're kind of still blinded to because we're not at that place where for you it was, that's it. Like this thing my whole life that I always thought was just, or other people even thought, like, could you really do that? Or all came in this one moment because obviously the Spirit of God revealed and opened your eyes to that because you were prepared and ready to receive that.
But then that goes to show you that we all define success, we like to say differently, but honestly, we see this, you know, American dream as, you know, the job, the kids, the picket fence, the this, the that. And so as parents, it's like, okay, well, we want our kids to be successful. And that's what that means, that they have a successful job. They have a successful, like, you know, family. You, because of the surrender, and then also because you were able to define your own definition of success. And in this term, success isn't what Jared wanted to do with art. It was, what does God want me to do?
Yeah.
And as long as I follow that, then I'm successful.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I almost had that taste of the white picket fence and like perfect lifestyle while I was in high school. Because I had the reputation that, you know, a lot of people, and myself included, still try to achieve. And I think at that moment, I realized, you know, all that gave me was numbness. You know, having the right image in everyone's mind, that just left me numb. And, you know, I wasn't able to care about people close to me very well. And so I guess the Lord showed me, like, there is something more to this. And more so than even just, like, being a Christian and saying that you're a believer. Because I would have said that I was back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now we'll fast forward to kind of now, because you made that kind of decision of, all right, God, this is what I'm going to do. So what was that? What was kind of that transition? Like, you graduate from college. Of course, you tell your parents, and you already said they were unbelievably supportive, no doubt. As you said, I think this is what I want to give a go at. And so kind of what was that transition like, going from, all right, I'm college graduated, I have a degree in engineering, but I want to do this art full time. It's whatever I believe God's calling me into. Kind of real quick, what was that transition like to where you are today with your art?
Yeah, so graduated college in May of 2021. So I'm coming up on 3 years being out, and I just sat down with my dad and we wrote out like all of my expenses, how much I needed to make, how many paintings physically I needed to make, and then how many of those I needed to sell. So we were like, you know, I was expecting to just be struggling. Like, that was the art career. And I was okay with that. I was excited about it. But man, like God just put me in all of the right places at all of the right times. So I joined DK Gallery. I was with them for a long time. I ended up joining another gallery in Blue Ridge that I'm still in called High Country Art. That was an amazing thing. And, you know, when you start off as an artist, you don't really know exactly what your style is usually. And like having your style is a big deal because you want people to be able to see your art and say,
identify it.
And
that's
yeah.
a Jarrett Knox,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's what you're really hoping for, to kind of have that brand. And mine was kind of given to me because I started off doing florals and landscapes and portraits and wildlife. And sure enough, the wildlife art is kind of what's taking off. And then joining the Blue Ridge Gallery, we're able to sell a ton of bears and fish and deer. And I'm like, this is great because I'm also a big hunter, fisherman, hiker, like all that stuff. So I was like, man, this is what I want to paint anyways. And this is the stuff that the Lord is blessing. So I kind of found a niche pretty quickly. And that's kind of the thing that's really tough for a lot of artists is like, well, where do I fit in? What can I provide that buyers haven't already seen? And so I kind of found that, okay, I love, if y'all know who Steve Penley is, I grew up loving his artwork. He's got these crazy bright colors, but everything is super realistic. And I wanted to take that because I love color, but I also appreciate high definition realism. And I wanted to combine those two things with wildlife art. And that hadn't really been done well yet. And so that's still what I'm.
Well, and there's an artist who does that right now. Is going. He's probably talking about me.
Yeah.
Okay, I do that, but I don't do it very well. I know you're not.
I'm not saying.
No, I'm only kidding. Yeah.
But there are a lot of artists who are like, let's make this look just like a deer.
Yeah.
I want to achieve that, but also, you know, make it really fun and have pops of colors and all of that stuff that kind of draws you in. So that's kind of where I found my bread and butter. I still paint a little bit of everything, but ended up joining another gallery in Cashers, North Carolina, Whiteside Art Gallery. You know, some crazy things just fell into my lap with Onward Reserve, getting an opportunity to do one T-shirt with them for an event at St. Simon's. And that turned into a whole deal where now I've got a line of T-shirts with them displaying my wildlife art. They'll sell some paintings here and there for me too. And then even in this last year, I joined a gallery in Charleston. And they actually have another location in Nashville and Colorado, and we're gonna hopefully start displaying in that Colorado location.
And two great places to be selling wildlife art too.
Right.
Oh yeah.
When you start considering, you know, it's not like, you know, Manhattan. Not that you won't be there one day, or maybe you are there already, but those places, people gobble that stuff up for the houses, the cabin, the lake house, the beach house, and the shirts. I've seen, and of course I've seen the first shirt you had done with Onward Reserve, and then of course I heard about the subsequent deal to do other shirts, and I'm figuring out like some shirts I can make and design with somebody.
Yeah,
I'm sure
turtlenecks.
Yeah, maybe.
whole line.
yeah. Slim fit turtlenecks, please.
I do love that you put little Easter eggs for people to find, like little things, you know, just kind of tailored to if someone asks for a specific commission.
And something that I try and get back to, sometimes I do forget to do this, honestly, but I like to put little crosses in the paintings. And you never know, you know, if somebody is a believer and they're buying this painting or not, but maybe they'll see that at some point and be like, wow, like God is in this with me.
Yeah. That's good. That's awesome. And really, because I want you to we'll wrap up with you providing maybe some quick advice for others. Whether somebody's listening right now, I'm a parent listening of a student here at Mount Perrin, or maybe I'm a parent listening and I'm kind of in between this. I'm wrestling with, you know, even as an adult, what you went through in college on God, where am I? And I believe you're in this kind of thing, but I don't know what should I do? So what kind of advice might you give the student, the parent, the somebody who might be in some way on this journey that they'd say, man, that's what I needed to hear? Yeah,
I will say, I think we have to get to a place of really believing that what God wants for us is the absolute best thing.
Man, so good.
And, you know, for me, it happened, the best thing that God wanted for me ended up being this really awesome, fun thing. But the art is not what fulfills me, right? It's still the fact that I'm painting because God wants me to be painting and I can glorify him with it. And so, if you've got a kid or you are a kid and you want to be painting full time or you want to be pursuing something that's not super mundane and normal to most people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your joy is not going to come from doing that cool thing. And you cannot just will that into being. If you really want the Lord to be leading your life and to have the joy that comes with that, I think you have to be okay with doing whatever it is that he asks you to do. And it is hard to get to that place because that means you have to strike out in every other area like I did. Because like everything else came up empty for me. And God used that to get me to a place where I would hold my hands open and say, okay, whatever you want. And so I think that is a very like practical thing, actually.
Yeah.
Like you can actually submit your life to the Lord and say, you tell me what to do. And in the meantime, work really hard at the things that he has you in. Don't wait outside a door just banging on it to open. If it's closed, then keep walking down the hallway and like keep working hard at the things that your hands are finding themselves on. And if he wants you to do something, he will bring it in front of your face and you won't miss it.
You should download this
Good
episode
stuff.
and just keep it on file. Yeah.
Somebody has to. That is great. One last thing, Jared, where if I want to see your art, if I'm a listener going, well, we were talking about his art. I'm all into that art.
Yeah.
Where is there a website? Where can somebody listening right now check out your artwork right now if they're interested? Studio, where at?
Yeah, so I have a website, jaredwknoxart.com, and then 3 different galleries, like I said. Sportsman's Gallery in Charleston, if you're ever there, it's on King Street. Whiteside Art and Cashers, High Country Art in Blue Ridge. I've got a studio in Smyrna. If people want to come by, they can reach out through my website.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when you see his work, you'll be blown. I mean, it is remarkable.
Beautiful.
I don't have a few people have pieces hanging in their office. I go by Jason's office. I go by Tawana's office. I see their work. And I picture a mountain is nature,
right?
And this is From the Mount. So I'm picturing a From the Mount piece,
T-shirt.
Where the cross could be like a piece of art. Are you kidding me? I don't just want a T-shirt. So I've got to dig in the budget and see if I can forge around. But Jared, so awesome to hear your story because it's more than just art. It's not just a story of what's brought you to where, man, it is seeing the hand of God and His faithfulness and I think that's something that whether you're an artist or not, anybody listening can go, man, I needed that. And so awesome. Yeah. So awesome having you on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks a ton for having me.
Yeah.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Of course, love to have you back on. And maybe we'll get some of the other Knoxes on at some point as well.
Let's do it.
So, and I also want to thank you all for listening to another episode of From the Mount.